There's so much negativity in the media right now speculating the real estate market that I'm sure it's really hard for you to decide what's right and what's not. So in this video, I want to share with you a realtor's perspective on what it's like to be a buyer in today's market and also what it's like to sell your home in today's market as well. Look, I get it. There is so much talk about what's happening in the real estate market and what's going to happen in the real estate market and how inflation and rising interest rates are going to be causing foreclosures across the nation. I've heard the same recent stories that you have. Analysts are speculating that there will be huge waves of foreclosures happening across the nation within the next 6 months or so. But to the contrary, there are also those analysts out there that are saying that there will be some foreclosures, but it won't be as bad as people are thinking because of the amount of equity that homeowners currently have in their homes and also the willingness amongst banks to help those homeowners keep the homes that they're in. With all the information that the media is shoving down everyone's throat, how can we blame the market for being at a dead standstill? Buyers are afraid to buy a home because they're afraid that with high interest rates, their payments will be higher, high cost of homes. Of course, they'll be buying a home that costs more than it will be worth in the next few months. And also sellers are afraid to sell because they're hearing all of this fear amongst the media that buyers won't buy and that the market is going to crash. So everyone's afraid to do anything right now. Of course, there is always some truth to what the media is saying. And we are actually seeing rising interest rates and rising inflation. And of course, that is spilling over into the real estate market and causing a lot of unrest. As you can imagine, the once booming resale market has slowed down quite a bit. But let's talk about the new builds out there. In true Vegas fashion, as I'm sure is true of most cities, when the resale market became so tight and there was so little inventory, builders and developers came to everyone's rescue and opened new developments and started building new homes. We once again saw long wait lists to get lots for new home builds. We saw lotteries go into place, and we saw very fast price increases across the board in the new build department. We also saw very long build times. Sometimes people were going under contract and not being able to move into their home for up to 24 months from the time of signing that first contract. When builders see demand such as this, they start to do incremental strategic price increases across the board each time they release a new phase. And in the last few years, I saw some builders increase their price 100% from phase 1 to whatever that last phase they were doing during their builder closeout. That's a huge increase. I realize that inflation and the cost of materials have a little bit to do with those price increases, but a lot of that comes from builders knowing that they can charge that much because you guys need a house to move into and there's nothing on the market for resale, so where else are you going to turn? So with every positive, there has to be a negative. And although these builders came in and saved the day when there was very little inventory, it created a lot of demand, which created a lot of work and a necessity to get work done in a timely manner, which then in turn has created some problems now that we're finding out where they have had shoddy workmanship and people not wanting to put out quality work. Of course, the demand of needing more materials and having shortages in work have actually probably played a part in the defective materials that we're receiving on the building end. But no matter what, defective materials will end up affecting the consumer in the end when the install process is taking place in the building of their home. One of the hottest topics right now amongst those buyers that purchase new builds during the height of the market, while they were in all of the bidding wars and wait lists to get a lot is that now that it's time to close and the market has shifted, they're closing at a price that's much higher than what the house is selling for now. As you can imagine, this is causing a huge problem for builders, especially in a slowing market. Now they already don't have new buyers coming in to purchase new homes, and they now have standing inventory of homes where they've had buyers back out of their contracts. So what are they going to do with all this standing inventory and no buyers to buy the houses? This can be great news for buyers though, because as builders are listing those standing inventory homes, buyers get to take advantage of huge price decreases in order to get those homes off of the builder's book. A lot of builders are offering huge incentives on either a spec home or a brand new build home in hopes of completing communities that are only partially sold out, and they're having a very hard time selling those lots right now. Right now, I actually know of some builders who are offering $125,000 off the list price of their spec homes. I know of builders who are offering appliance packages, flooring upgrades, lender incentives. Some builders are even offering your buyer's agent to get 6% commission to bring you to the door. So as you can see, if you are a buyer, getting a new build right now isn't necessarily a bad idea. There might be a little longer wait time, but if you get a spec home, those homes are ready to move into usually, or very close to being ready to move into, and you can get some pretty good deals right now. And if resales are up your alley, there's also a lot of incentives for buyers in that market as well. First, we are seeing a bit of increase in homes on the market, which means that you as a buyer don't have to necessarily feel rushed to put in an offer because you might miss out on a home or another home won't be there for you. You also don't have to feel like you have to offer an astronomical amount to beat out other offers that are being submitted on the same home. And the overall buying experience is just a nicer one when you're not as stressed and pressed to purchase something. There are also many other things as a buyer that you can ask for from the seller in today's market that you wouldn't necessarily been able to do before. Some things include home inspections. You've always been able to do a home inspection, but were you actually able to ask for repairs to be done or cash in lieu of those repairs? In a seller's market and in a crazy market that we just came off of, no. We had buyers that were just waiving inspections or getting an inspection so they knew what needed to be done, but they wouldn't even ask for the repairs or cash toward the repairs. Whereas now you're able to do that. We've seen shorter due diligence periods be replaced with longer ones, which means buyers don't feel as stressed to get all their contingencies done in a short period of time. Now, I know some contingencies are just normal, like your appraisal contingency and your loan approval contingency. Those don't really change and never really have. Well, maybe. In the seller's market, we saw a lot of buyers get beat out by cash offers because of those contingencies. So those were kind of changing per se, but now you don't have to worry so much about shortening due diligence periods in order to win a bid on a house. Buyers also aren't having to waive appraisals in order to beat out cash offers. And if you have a loan, you can't waive your appraisal anyway. So you have more options at your fingertips of homes that you can actually put an offer in on because you don't have those cash buyers so much out there anymore. But to that point, I will say that in some niches, we are going to start seeing, or at least I believe we're going to start seeing, an uptick of investors and cash buyers because they tend to buy when nobody else wants to buy. And personally, I've had a lot of investors reach out to me recently looking for distressed properties or distressed sellers so that they can take advantage of that and pay cash for those homes because a lot of buyers just aren't willing to write offers right now. So my advice to you is, if you think you want to buy now or in the near future, I'm not trying to scare you and I'm not predicting the future, but I do think that we will see a lot more of those investors, and I think that you should highly consider that when thinking about possibly waiting longer to purchase, because I think that you're going to have to be competing with those investors in the near future. Before I get into the sell side, I want to introduce myself. My name is Lisa Lopez, and I'm a real estate consultant in the Las Vegas area, specializing in luxury real estate. I have a passion of helping busy families achieve the American dream of home ownership through my personalized concierge approach to the real estate transaction. For more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Let's move on to what's happening on the seller's side of the transaction during this shifting market. How are sellers being affected by all this talk of rising inflation, rising interest rates, and the market possibly crashing? As you could imagine, sellers are actually being affected the same way as buyers, because sellers generally have to also purchase a home once they sell their home. What I'm seeing a lot of times is that sellers don't want to sell their home for less than a price that will afford them to buy the new home that they're trying to purchase. So as you can see, this can make for a really stubborn fight. While the market is shifting, sellers are trying to buy a home while trying to sell their home. And what's happening is the seller of the home that they want to purchase doesn't want to come down in price either. And the seller that needs to purchase the home also doesn't want to come down in the price of their home when they're selling to their buyer. When the market is shifting, the most important thing for a seller to do is to stay on top of their price. Even if you hit the market at the right price, you should be educated by your real estate advisor that there will probably be a high likelihood that you will need to do incremental price adjustments as your house sits on the market, because the market is changing weekly right now. You also have to do everything possible to make your listing stand out above the rest, whether that be price, the cleanliness of your home, proper staging if your home is vacant, or the most important thing, and what I pride my business on the most, is having top-notch marketing that has global reach for your listing. Your agent's marketing plan is always a very important piece of your listing, but in a shifting market, your agent's marketing plan should be the most important thing aside from price. Remember, you want to get as many eyes on your property as possible. Video right now is the way to do that. Video can have global reach. If you have your house marketing video on a YouTube channel or many YouTube channels, and also with a brokerage that has global reach, this is going to help your listing stand out among the others that don't necessarily even have a video at all. And even if your agent has a stellar marketing plan, that agent also needs to know how to properly prep your listing to stand out in those photos and videos first and foremost. I actually have an entire video for sellers that are getting their house ready for listing, and I'll put a clickable link above so that you can actually go visit that if you want to watch it. Honestly, the biggest thing I'm seeing right now is proper pricing. There are so many sellers out there that think their houses are worth more than they actually are, and they don't want to take the advice of their real estate advisor for some reason. I'm also seeing a lot of sellers who have put upgrades into their home and they're expecting to get that same amount back, when this is actually never true. You never get dollar for dollar back on your upgrades or your remodel project, and it's especially not true in a shifting market when it's moving from a seller's market to a buyer's one. So sellers, my advice to you that if you're planning on listing your home in the near future, and I would say in the next 1 to 3 years, I would be very careful with the amount of upgrades you put into your home. Or better yet, you can find a qualified, willing real estate consultant that you can ask about your upgrades. They should be able to help you see if spending that kind of money will actually be worth it. From my experience, the homes that reap the most benefit of a remodel or upgrading are those homes that are in neighborhoods that are maybe like 20 years old, where they are in need of remodels, and the majority of those homes in the area are not remodeled. Then that remodeled home or upgraded home will actually then make their money back, or close to making their money back, than compared to a newer home development where the homes maybe are only 5 to 7 years old and someone decides to go in there and revamp the whole thing. That generally will not result in the seller making all or even half of their money back in what they put into their home. I also think that if you are wanting to still remodel or upgrade your home, I think the most important places to tackle first are the kitchen and the primary bathroom. Those tend to be big hits with buyers and the first thing people look at. So tell me, what else would you like to know about on the sell side or the buy side? Let me know in the comments below. Right now in today's market, I like to educate my sellers on current market conditions and what they can expect in today's market. Aside from pricing their property correctly and expecting to do incremental price adjustments, I like to let them know that buyers are actually taking their time right now. They are not writing offers right away. They're leaving your listing, they're going home, they're talking about it, possibly looking at another listing or two, talking about it, thinking about it even longer. And sometimes it takes a week or so, sometimes even more, for a buyer to even write an offer on your listing now. So patience is key. So it's kind of funny to me right now. I actually have a seller who needs to also purchase a home. And when we finally settled on the one home that they've wanted for a few months now, they always want the seller to give them the moon and the stars. But when we have a buyer for their listing who would want maybe the same or less than what they're asking for from their seller, they're not willing to give it. Don't be that seller. What you yourself as a seller or buyer are asking someone to do for you, that's what's happening in the market. These transactions and negotiations are what creates the market we're in. So if you're in the market, you need to treat it like you're in the market. Do unto others as you want done to you. This is also a good rule to live by when selling your home. I believe that in the end, everybody wants reasonable treatment. And if you as a buyer are expecting the moon and stars from a seller, then you, the seller, should also be willing to give the moon and stars to your buyers. Okay, so maybe not the moon and the stars, but you should be prepared to give your buyer some of the terms and the items that they're actually asking for. I know many of you are very frustrated with where the market is at, both buyers and sellers. I understand sellers wanting to get the most out of their home that they possibly can. And I also understand that buyers are very afraid that once they purchase a home, the value of that home is going to go down. This is when I like to have the conversation with either my buyer or seller as to why they want to buy or sell their home. Usually, this helps reset their mentality and remind them of the core reason why they entered the market to begin with, which then helps them when they need to make tough decisions during the real estate transaction process. To find out more about buyer or seller strategies, click on one of these two videos below. Until next time, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to get notified every time I drop a new video. See you on the next one.